Hi, Manong George here. Welcome to the channel. Let's have a real talk about the costs of living here in the UK.
The nmcoski is changing, and our course is changing too. From this summer, the nmcoski is going to be 10 stations, and we've got 10 rooms to match. Practice every station in our state-of-the-art Central London Training Centre, or connect with the centre through VR from wherever you are in the world. 10 stations, 10 rooms. Yes, the number you need is 0203 637 6722. That's 0203 637 6722. To your success.
Starting with number one, London is pretty. Don't get me wrong. It's one of the most beautiful cities in the world. But chances are, if you're a nurse in London, you literally are just looking at the pretty things in London. You cannot own them. So, if you're coming to the UK to work as a nurse and you're thinking that, hey, I'll build my dreams here, I'll buy a house, I'll live in one of those lavish flats in London, stay in Belgravia or maybe in Bond Street or whatever, these things won't happen. Nurses don't earn a lot in London for them to own places like that here in the UK.
My business. Now where's my money?
Alright, so this is real talk. If you're planning to stay in London on a nurse's salary, you might have to work real hard and to work a lot of extras to make your dreams come true. But of course, this is just a generalization. Of course, there would be nurses that could find other means. I'm just giving you what is the real situation of nurses, here in the UK. If you live in the UK, there are so many bills to pay. Yes, you heard that right. Let me just say, you'll pay for council tax, you'll pay for gas bills, you'll pay for electric bills, you'll pay for water bills, you'll pay for Wi-Fi bills, maybe you'll have your own mobile phone bills as well to pay, and so forth and so on. There's just so many bills. And one top tip that I could suggest for new nurses, especially here in the UK, is that, if you're new in the UK and you're scouting for accommodation, because obviously even rent, there's still rent to pay. I would suggest that look for accommodations that can bundle, all the payments. They'll have it all in, like they'll pay for your electric and your water bills and sometimes even Wi-Fi if they have one. But also you can look into house sharing with your cohorts, with your friends, so that the prices of all these bills, especially when you're starting, is mitigated, because if not, it's hard to pay all those bills alone. Since we are talking about bills, one other thing that you should remember about here in the UK is that sometimes with all these bills and services, loyalty sometimes does not pay. Here in the UK, there's a good competition amongst providers of all services. And sometimes how they compete is that your first contract, probably a year or a year and a half, would always be on discounted rates. And chances are, for us new nurses, when we come around, we might have that mentality that, we'll just stick with this because we've got good service from this provider when we first came around here.
Listen to this satisfied customer.
But that sometimes is not true, because what happens is after your first contract of discounted rates, sometimes, and most often actually I should say, this now jumps to the regular rates. And regular rates can be as much as double sometimes. So what I always say, loyalty might not pay, so look for the next best thing. So what do you do? When you're nearing the end of your contracts, and I suggest putting that on your calendars and your mobile phones, when you're nearing the end of your contract, scout for prices. There are a lot of comparison websites that could also help you out with this. Do your research and you can probably save a lot more. Next, if you live in the countryside, there's a good chance that you would rely on public transport, which is not bad. Actually, public transport here in the UK is quite good, but it can get annoying when you are actually working on weekends and bank holidays, when that service, the commute service, the transport service is very much reduced. And this is when you would have to say, you might have to splurge a bit more and take the occasional taxi, and it might be alright. But the thing is, the best thing to do with that is, if you live in the countryside, might I suggest that you try to obtain a UK driving license. And when you have that UK driving license, especially again in the countryside, it opens a lot more doors for you. Unlike, say, if you work in a big city like London, where there might be multiple hospitals that would allow you to have more agency work around those hospitals without you trying to buy a car, because you don't really need a car if you just live and work within that London area. Now, if you're in the countryside, that might not be possible. The next hospital might be 30, 40, 50, 60 miles away, and for you to do an agency shift there, it might be an hour or 2 hours commute. And, it just makes your world a little smaller. But if you are driving, then the world's your oyster. But owning a car in the UK means you would also have to pay for other bills pertaining to your car. That might be the car loan that you had to take for you to purchase your first car, or maybe even you might maybe you got a cheap car, but then again you have a higher insurance rating because it's your first time driving in the UK, and so forth and so on. So of course, weigh your options. But then again, like I said, it's always best to own a car if you live in the countryside, because it opens your world out there. For parents coming over to work here in the UK, childcare in the UK is not cheap. It is quite expensive. As a parent myself, here in our place in the Midlands, we looked around, and the standard payment for 1 day of childcare, so that's about 8 to 10 hours, is around £50 per day. And I think that is the cheapest we saw. Okay, so places like maybe London or more affluent areas in the countryside can charge you with a lot more. So let's stick with that £50 per day. If you say you go for 5 days, you put your child into childcare, that's £250 per month. And if you multiply that to 4, because there might be 4 weeks in a month, then you're looking at £1,000 per month simply for childcare. And to be honest, on a nurse's salary, that £1,000 is just way too much. There are ways to mitigate this. One, of course, is having arrangements with your friends, family for childcare. But then again, if you don't have friends or family, then this might be something that you need to discuss within your family and find creative ways on how to make sure that you can mitigate this high cost of childcare in the UK for you. Did I forget to say that £50 per day is just applicable for one child? So if you have a family and have more than one child, you've got 2, 3 children maybe. So each baby, each child, each head will cost you £50 per day. So it might be something to look out for and discuss before you commit into childcare. And that concludes our Real Talk for cost of living here in the UK. If you have more questions, why don't you engage with us here on YouTube? Drop a comment down below. Or if you want to engage with us in Facebook, look it up. Our Facebook group is Filipino UK Nurses Community. Join us, and we could have a lot more discussions about the real things, real talks, most important topics about UK nursing for Filipino nurses. Always remember, Manong knows.
Manong knows best, put your worries to rest when